And so they had to stop the angle. But just the 2 weeks that they had that angle, they're willing to dedicate a 3-hour Raw show to this angle solely. How can you do that? I had never seen anything in my life. It was as bad as the Katie Vick angle from a couple years ago between Triple H and Kane, where you actually had Triple H in that storyline go make love to a dummy that was supposedly dead. This was twice as bad because you actually saw Vince McMahon supposedly get blown up in the limo, and then you had Stephanie McMahon come out the next week, start crying and everything, and run off into the audience, and then it was announced that they're going to have a 3-hour show. But that 3-hour show obviously was dedicated to Chris Benoit tribute. So the worst angle of the year is the Vince McMahon death. I never want to see anything like this again. And I was kind of offended by this whole angle. Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody was offended by this angle because people can... This actually happens to some people. People actually do get blown up by some other person, you know, like Hitman or something like that. You know, it's this kind of... People die every single day. You do not make fun of it by putting it into a storyline like this. It's one of the worst angles in professional wrestling history. Just not 2007, wrestling history. Never happen again. Nothing ever like this should ever happen again. There is no room in professional wrestling for this kind of thing. Professional wrestling, there's enough criticism enough as it is. With all the stuff that we have in there with the steroids and all this junk that's in professional wrestling, the prescription drugs and everything, we do not need a death, a storyline death thrown into professional wrestling to throw more fuel on the fire, if you will. We do not need this kind of thing in professional wrestling, and if it ever happens again, I swear to God, I will probably stop watching professional wrestling as a whole, or at least stop watching WWE, because there is no reason for anything like that to be put on national television. Excuse me, I get into a thing about this because the media constantly criticizes Vince McMahon, and this is one of the reasons why. It's because of stupid things like this, stupid angles, just like his McMahonism religion he created back in 2006. We do not need this kind of publicity, you know. There's a saying in professional wrestling, I guess, though, that any publicity is good publicity. But that's not really always true. Because sometimes bad publicity turns viewers away from yourself. Turns viewers away from you. And if the media doesn't do it, you certainly do it yourself by doing stupid things like this. So Vince McMahon, shame on you, and shame on the storyline writers on WWE for even considering putting an angle out there like that. Best wrestler of the year, I want to go into now, because, you know, we've had the best feud, we have the worst feud. Now I want to talk about the best wrestler and the worst wrestlers of 2007. Best wrestler, you could talk about Undertaker. You could mention Shawn Michaels. You could mention Triple H, even though he was gone for about 8 months of the year. But he still had a very good, strong 4 months. You could mention Umaga, who had a tremendous, strong start in the year, got into the Battle of the Billionaires feud at WrestleMania 23, it featured in a high-profile storyline, and the biggest show on the earth. Continued that in the Backlash, but he's kind of slowed down a bit. You can talk about Jeff Hardy, who I believe this is has been his greatest year in his professional wrestling career. I guarantee you, because he will look back on this year and say, when he becomes a superstar one day and is a world champion someday, and he's writing his autobiography, he will point back at 2007 and say this was his breakout, his best year. But best wrestler has to go to John Cena. I know that it's a storyline and everything's written in. You know, and it's written how it's going to happen. But John Cena's character has got to be the best character that I've seen in a while. I mean, he just have his people that hate him because of he's a gangster or blah, blah, blah. You know, all this junk. But how could you not side with the guy after the year he had? He came into the year of 2007 in a strong feud with Umaga and beat the Samoan Bulldozer, successfully defending his WWE Championship that he won at WrestleMania 22 from Triple H. Or actually, he didn't win at WrestleMania 22, won a couple months before that. So he held the belt over a year, obviously. But back to John Cena. Talk about the guy's perseverance. Every single feud he was in this year, it looked like at times John Cena was done. He was going to lose the WWE Championship. But he did persevere, and he did get that, and he did retain his championship. Like John Cena, Umaga. Everybody thought probably that Umaga was going to destroy John Cena. But he didn't, did he? WrestleMania, John Cena gets into the ring with one of the greatest professional wrestlers of all time in the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. And anytime you have a good match with Shawn Michaels, you know you are one of the best wrestlers in the world. Continued that feud for a couple more months, you know, all the way through Backlash, Judgment Day, and such. Actually, through Backlash, and then after that, he got into a feud with the Great Khali. Talk about different sizes. You wrestled the Samoan Bulldozer in January, then you wrestled Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania and Backlash, then you wrestled the 7-foot-tall, the Great Khali at Judgment Day and at One Day Stand this past year. Then he gets into a little short feud with Bobby Lashley. And I'll tell you what, John Cena, Bobby Lashley did not get injured. I could see that. I saw dollar signs on that feud. You could have booked the rest of the year around John Cena, Bobby Lashley. Because professional wrestling fans love to see two young stars go at it for the top prize in the game, the WWE Championship. But because Bobby Lashley got injured, we got Randy Orton into the fray now. Randy Orton, John Cena, I saw tremendous dollar signs on this feud as well. And they was looking to continue through the rest of the year, I believe it was. But John Cena was injured in a match and was to be stripped of his title. He tore his pectoral muscle. So John Cena has missed the last 3 months of the year 2007 because of an injury. But I still give him Best Wrestler of the Year because his character persevered through so much. He had so many great feuds and great matches throughout this year that you cannot give Best Wrestler of the Year to somebody else. You have to give it to John Cena. But of course, like I said, for every best feud, there's a worst angle or a worse feud. For every best wrestler, there's a worst wrestler. And the worst wrestler of this year has got to be Carlito. I hate to be critical of Carlito. I like his character. I like everything about him. It's just that Carlito has lost a lot of his luster and a lot of his fire. If Batista had not gotten back his fire this year through his Undertaker feud, I would give worst wrestler to Batista. But Carlito has lost every single bit of his fire. The guy shows no emotion anymore in any storyline or match he's involved in. And it's all about emotion that you show in the ring as a professional wrestler. And Carlito's not showing anything. So his character's taken a big downfall. His stock has plummeted from 2006. He had a strong 2006 year. He was way up here. He was ready to break into main event status. But he lost his fire in 2007. And he just slowly crumbled all the way down towards the end of 2007. Carlito has got to turn it back up in 2008. Or this guy will never be as good as a wrestler as he should be. I have high expectations for Carlito because he's Carlos Colon's son, one of the great wrestlers of all time from Puerto Rico. But Carlito has got to get it back in 2008. And I think he can do it. I think Carlito can do it. He's got to pull his head out of his rear end to do it. He's got to show more emotion. He's got to get more involved in the storylines. In the past couple weeks on Raw, I see that happening in Carlito. So this worst wrestler maybe should not be dealt to Carlito, but in my mind it is dealt to Carlito because he has a sucky year. His emotion has sucked throughout the year. He has made me not want to watch him whatsoever. So I give Carlito worst wrestler. The only thing he made me turn off Monday Night Raw when I saw him come out because I know it was going to be a boring segment. He was about to leave WWE during his past couple of months, I believe it was, too, because he was doing jobs to Hornswoggle and everything like that. But they were teaching him a lesson. And the lesson was, you get your fire back underneath you, you start acting like a professional wrestler, the professional wrestler you should be, and live it to your potential. Or you're going to keep doing jobs like this. And if he does not do it in 2008, he'll become a jobber. I was mentioning earlier in the show, I was mentioning breakout stars. I was talking about Jeff Hardy. And of course, I'm going to start off with Jeff Hardy. And I remember I made that remark where somewhere down the road, a couple of years or 10 years, however long it is from now, where he's writing his autobiography, he will look back at 2007 as his breakout year. And I guarantee you, he will make it his breakout year. He has held the Intercontinental title throughout most of 2007. You know, he actually didn't have it through in the first half, but he got it during the second half. And he's made that belt worth holding again. Because of the way the guy is in the ring. You look at the crowd, listen to the pop that he gets. I was at a Raw live show in Green Bay back in September, and he got one of the